So today we're going to be talking about a little bit of how to tank Dohn Mheg. It's a level 73 dungeon, and we're just going to kind of skip over the front here because we got a couple of new players here. So what we want to do is we want to forward. So right here we can kind of see we're running down this nice hill here, and as you can see my paladin's only level 73. The gear is around level 394, so it's not top notch. This mob right here, you can already see that down here my CD's kind of messed up. There it is. So what do I first use? We can take a look down at the bottom of the screen. Right here you can kind of see that I start off with probably nothing here. We have a scholar, so I do have some shields. I'm basically establishing aggro here on the very first mob, and then I move to the second mob over here. I have this enmity list here, so if it's red, it means I have aggro on the boss. On the mobs, and you can immediately see I popped Sentinel and Rampart. Okay, and you want to be utilizing your Paladin AoE down here. So Paladin physical AoE compromises of two skills, just basically these two that I'm using down here. And the rest is just basically burning down this mob. So there really isn't much to say about burning down the mob. Once you've used your initial CDs here, you can see that I don't have any more to go off of. Now I do have arm's length here, but it is a 2-minute cooldown, so I kind of want to save it for the next mob here. You can see that the mob is kind of dying. You don't want to waste too much of your cooldowns. Okay, so once we're done with that, moving on to the next part here. You can see here, what do I have as cooldowns? I have Rampart, I have Sentinel, I establish a little bit of aggro on the mobs using the two AoEs I described before as a combo. And I use, of course, Sheltron. I have a Rampart up now. And you'll notice here that I have a lot of MP, but the Scholar over here is really struggling to heal me up. So what I should have done is I should have used Clemency here, but instead of using Clemency, I think I go for Holy Circle. So I end up dying here on this mob because it's too big and the Scholar couldn't keep me alive. This kind of situation will happen where you have Sentinel, Sentinel just fell off, but you have Sentinel, you have Arm's Length, and you don't have any more available cooldowns to use. As a Paladin, you have Clemency. It's not an ideal situation, but if you're not able to stay alive, it is ideal to just Clemency yourself. So it looks like I actually make it through on this pack here just fine. The Yads are dying. So we'll move on to the next. So this one's the first boss. The first boss is going to do some jumps. So you notice immediately at the first time I use Shield Lob and I pull the boss to the center. It'll do a cast called Candy Cane. So it'll do a big hit, and what I use to mitigate that is I just use Rampart. And the Hydro is just an AoE on the ground. You just dodge that. And this is the Laughing Leap I was talking about. So the boss casts is Laughing Leap and recenters itself. So if you have the boss over here or on the side, it'll just jump back to the center. So it's better idea to just tank the boss somewhere around the center. So when the boss casts Laughing Leap, it'll just jump back, not move a lot. It's especially important if you have a melee, so they don't run around and try to hit the boss from, let's say, like the east side over here, trying to run in. So it'll start casting Land's Blood, which is little small circles of AoE that explode. So you'll see when they're starting to get very full, you can see this one is empty, right? And then this one over here is also empty. That means they're not they're not primed to explode yet. So you want to see if the ground AoEs are kind of like this. So you can see immediately after that, these three explode and the other one in the back because they were more primed to explode. Like this one here, you can start seeing it's starting to be full, and so is this one down here, and this one just exploded. So you can see again, ready to explode, ready to explode, ready to explode. So that's how you look at where to go for the safe spots. When you see the explosion, it's quite big. So it happens in fast succession. What's really annoying about this mechanic is if you get hit by one of them, you're probably going to get hit by another one. So you have to kind of successfully dodge all of them or get hit by one or two of them, and just don't move. Because if you keep moving around, you're going to get hit by more and more explosions. That's what's happening to my teammates here. So after that, you'll see the boss cast Candy Cane again. It's going to be a big hit. So you want to make sure you mitigate it. So you can see here, I immediately pop Sentinel, and it absorbs the hit. So it doesn't take my HP down too much. And it's going to do Hydrofall again with the little AoEs in the back marked on random. I think it's DPS, but it's not really important. You kind of just dodge it. It's not a hard dodge. But we're going to focus on the tanking aspects here. And you can see here the boss casts an AoE. Now, you can choose to mitigate it with Reprisal, like I did here. So I casted Reprisal on the boss. So it mitigates 10% of the AoE damage. You don't have to do it. It's just something to help the healer with. So moving on, it's just another round of repeated mechanics. It's Candy Cane again. So you see I don't have any more cooldowns here, so I just use Sheltron. And you can see how hard it hits. So it still hits kind of decent for 20% block. My HP went down to half. So we just want to kind of skip over this part because the boss does a rinse and repeat mechanic here, and it's not really important. It takes a while to burn down. Okay, so moving on here, after you kill the boss, here, there's a wall. Kind of just wait on it a bit, and once it dissipates, you just follow the little boss running into the hidden gardens. And here we meet up with another mob. Same thing, you want to kind of do an AoE pull, establish aggro, make sure it's all red we'll make sure it's red on the enemy list. If it's green or yellow, that means you don't have aggro on it. If it's yellow, it means it's someone else is ripping aggro. So you want to make sure you establish aggro on it. Here I pop Rampart. and a Sheltron. As you can see here, my Reprisal is not up yet, and my Sentinel is also not up yet. My Hologround is also not up. So this pull here is actually pretty dangerous. Depends on, it really healer heavy, depends on how good your healer is. But generally you want to make sure that you rotate your cooldowns here. So you can see I have arm's length. I should be using that, but I used it later on when I realized I do have that skill, I think. Here you can see me casting Holy Circle, which is also something you want to do, but if your healer is struggling to keep you alive, like you can see my health bar is dipping quite a lot, because I don't have any cooldowns here. But I do use my reprisal, so it's 10% AOE on all the ads here. It doesn't hold out. It doesn't hold out that long, so you can see I used my arm's length here for the AOE slow. So if they're auto attacking you and you use arm's length, it gives them a slow debuff, as you can see on one of the ads I'm hitting. So they don't hit as much, but you can see here we're fine. We basically killed the ads, AOE'd them down. So I kind of want to move to the next mob here. Now this next mob pull hurts a lot because of the Honey Hunter. The Honey Hunter is a big bear-like creature. It does a lot of damage to you. So if your healer is already struggling kind of with the other pull there, you don't really want to do this pull without trying to clemency yourself. So you can see I run up here, I get hate on all of these ads, and then I start running. But over here, you also have these tree mobs, and these tree mobs hit you kind of hard too. So you'll see immediately right off the bat, I pop a Rampart and I'm already dipping down, and I'm forced to use Hollow Ground here. So you can see right there I pop Hollow Ground. It's not showing up yet, but you do want to use Hollow Ground because there's a cast delay. You want to use Hollow Ground a little bit earlier than intended, so I use Hollow Ground here, and you can see I still have Rampart up. It's not a really good use because I still have 8 seconds on my Rampart, and I have 9 seconds on my Hollow Ground. So the healer doesn't have to heal me up during this time. You can see as long as they can get me up to max HP, it shouldn't be an issue. But I doubled my CDs here, my invuln and my CDs here, because I was afraid the Scholar couldn't keep me topped up. So you can see here, Scholar does an M-Dom over there for some reason. But back to tanking here, my Rampart falls off, and so does my Hollow Ground. So you can see I have no buffs up right now on my buff hotbar. I have no tanking debuffs. I just pop Sentinel. So I have a Sentinel up here. I'm down to half HP. I also use Reprisal, so you can see the ads are reprisalled here. But the healer is struggling really hard to keep me alive. So right now I'm basically out of cooldowns. As you can see, I have no arm's length, I have no reprisal, I have no sentinel, I have no rampart, I have no hollow ground, and I don't have Shotron either. So you can see after here I should have saved. I was casting Holy Circle, but I should have used it for clemency on myself, because here you can see I have no CDs. I think the Scholar probably used up all the less traits, so I'm about to die here, as you can see on my HP bar, and I do eventually die. So I'm gonna skip the dying part, because if your healer just can't keep up, like here I died there, if your healer just can't keep up, you're gonna have to do smaller pulls. So waste time running back, do the same thing here. This time we clear it off. Now for the second boss does the same thing. You wanna shield lob, pull him to center, and then kind of tank him here. What the boss does is, you can see he does a swing. It's like a little cone AoE targeted at a random player. But you see when the boss finished that swing, when he casts fodder, he recenters himself perfectly, heading north. So north here, boss is perfectly centered. And what the boss does here for fodder is he spawns these little triads and then casts Timber. So Timber is a big AoE. It hits everyone in the arena. does a jump, hits, and see it does a little bit of AoE damage. These tethers were coming out, and what you do with these is you just basically grab them. As a tank, you grab whichever one's closest to you, and the other people just kind of scramble around. So you'll notice I didn't pop any cooldowns here because it's not important, and you can see what happens if you fail the mechanic. But this isn't the important part of tanking. So we're gonna kind of go forward, and you can see they kind of miss it again. But here, during the roots, the boss does a hit, so you kind of want to CD the hit. And I'm trying to see if I can show you guys the hit over here after the roots. So here is Coiling Ivy. You can see I did a reprisal there, but generally you want to do a reprisal. Let's see here, I run back. Everyone's grabbing a tether. Right here, you can see the boss did a rake. So generally during when it's the painted roots, you want to have some form of CD. Like I have Rampart over here, and I also have Sheltron. So during the painted roots, the boss does a rake hit. It is not casted, and it's an auto attack. It's a special auto attack, and it does quite a bit of HP. So it did 25,000 in one hit, and that's with Rampart and Sheltron up. So you want to make sure that when you're rooted here like this, you want to have one CD to cover the hit. And basically you just burn it down, nothing much. And you go into this first area. It only has 3 ads, so you don't really need to CD anything. They don't, you can't pull to the next room. So it's just like this, where it's soul healing from the healer. And you burn it down. Very nice, very nice. Now here you can see I'm running up the ramp, and I do another AoE here to pull those 3 ads, and I run into this room where I do an AoE from my last combo to get 500 MP to pull that horse over here. And you see I have Rampart up over here. I immediately pop Hollow Ground again because my HP was dipping. So just in case you missed that, right here. So I took 1 giant hit. My HP went down a lot when you're looking at this HP bar over here. And I immediately pop Hollow Ground. As right now you can see on the bottom, my HP is 26,000. So I slowly gain back HP. And here you'll notice that I don't make the same mistake as the other pull where we wiped down the mobs. I start to cast Clemency on myself because I know the healer won't be able to keep me up. So here you can see I have Sentinel running. I also have a Shield Samba from the Dancer. And you kind of burn it down a bit, but I run out of cooldowns again, which is kind of what happened to the other pull. So here you'll see my HP starts to dip. My HP starts to dip a bit, and I start to Clemency myself. Generally, it's a good idea to... there's 2 situations. You want to Clemency yourself when you're dying, and your healer can't keep up. And if you have extra MP, you just do Holy Circle because you want to burn the monsters down as fast as possible and as least healing as you needed. But if things just aren't dying fast, and it varies from run to run, if things are just not dying fast enough and you're running out of CDs, as a paladin, the only thing that can help you survive is to Clemency, because if you use Rampart, you use Sentinel, you use Hollow Ground, you use Reprisal, use Arm's Length, there's nothing, and you already rotated it, the CDs, there's nothing left for you to use. So you want to make sure you stay alive, and as a tank, you don't want to die, right? So you want to stay alive, not waste time like the previous segment where I died and had to run all the way back here. Because this pull, as you can see, is actually around 35-40 minutes for this dungeon, which is abnormally long. You want to make sure that you don't die to shorten the running back time. And here we kind of just clemency, and I don't have any MP anymore. We burn down the boss, we burn down the mobs, and you're greeted with the next room. So the next room here, you can see I'm running up the ramp again. It's just 3 monsters. So there's nothing here to really say about it. But one thing about this is these 2 monsters here on the side, the Naiads, they cast conal AoEs. So you want to make sure you see how the party is positioned at the ramp. You want to run through and face it where the party is not at. So you immediately see the Naiads casting water balloon to make AoEs on the ground, and then they'll turn around and cast a conal on whoever has aggro here, which is a tank. And you want to make sure you face the conal AoEs like this away from the party, so the healers don't have to move, or the casters don't have to move, so they can heal you and do damage. I see tanks that just stand there and face it towards the party sometimes, and it's not really ideal. So you wanna face it here, go out, come back in. It's like nothing changed. Okay, that's pretty much it for this part. And we move to the last boss here. Now, first things first, you'll notice that the boss does crippling blow. This is the last boss here. And for crippling blow, you just want to have 1 cooldown up. So you'll see me cast Rampart. So Rampart is up for this. Bam, it hits me for 25,000. And you'll immediately see that's with Galvanize it and Rampart up. Because my Shotron came up late. And the Virtuoso Capriccio is just a room-wide AoE. So there's nothing much to that. You can reprisal it if you want. It's not important. And the boss turns around, does an Imp Choir. So the boss is going to turn around later, my bad. So the boss is going to do an Imp Choir, which is a no-look mechanic. As you can see from the big eye. You look away, you come back, and you keep attacking. And it's going to do a Toad Choir, make sure you're not standing in it. But that's basically it for the first part of the fight. And then push back, obviously, and you want to run through this. You want to damage the boss inside this cone. And afterwards, hops out, turns into this big guy. So this big guy here doesn't do any tank busters. You don't have to do anything aside from Shotron. Make sure you avoid the tentacles. So you can see corrosive bile. You do not want to stand in front of this hitbox here either. But aside from that, this boss does no tank busters, so Shotron will suffice. Once they turn small, it's a rinse and repeat of the mechanic. You'll see does crippling blow again. You can use Rampart, which I use here. But you can see there's a healthy amount of CDs you can use. There's Sentinel, there's Rampart, and there's Reprisal. There's also Arm's Length. Arm's Length doesn't really do much. Arm's Length doesn't really do much in a sense here because the boss cannot be slowed. So Arm's Length doesn't count as a cooldown here. Afterwards, it's burn phase, repeated mechanics, and first dungeon is pretty much over. And that's it for how to tank Dohn Mheg as a paladin. And I'll be making more videos on how to tank different types of Shadowbringer dungeons and other dungeons, hopefully, as other tanks like Gunbreaker or Dark Knight or Warrior. And I'll see you guys in the next video.